So, you wrote your book, you revised your book, and you sent it out into the world, and it came back rejected. Hi, everyone. My name's Christina. I'm a genre bending literary writer, and we're going to talk about rejection today. Specifically, rejection when it comes to your writing. If there is one piece of advice that I give to anybody who is in writing and wants my advice about how to get published or how to move through the publishing world, I would say my number one piece of advice is be professional. That's kind of an obvious one, but I have heard some stories about people who just freak out because they got rejected. And it's probably not because they got rejected the first time or the second time. It's probably the 100th time or the 200th time. You get rejected a lot in this business. And we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about how you can manage it, how you can get through it, the things I do when I get rejections, because I get rejected. And we're going to talk about how you can see this as a positive thing and not necessarily the end of the world. My first submission ever was when I was 17, and I submitted a short story to a local paper for their Halloween edition, and I won second place. I still have the newspaper, except I'm not quite sure what it is. I have some storage boxes over there. I think it's in there. But it was kind of like my first real time trying to get published, and I had some minor success. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to be doing this writing thing. 17, writing this novel. And I wrote this scary story, and it did well, because I was always a genre writer, always. But over the next few years, after I finished my novel as a teenager and I wrote other short stories and submitted them out, I did not have a bunch of success. And my first real gut punch of rejection came when I was 19. I was a freshman in college, and I sent off my novel to a literary agent, and the literary agent did not take my book. And that was the first and only time I queried that novel, because it just was it just hurt. You're 19, you think, oh my God, I'm such a genius writer. And no, you're not. You're not a genius writer. You're a writer who has a story to tell, but you're not a writer. Not yet. And it took me a long time to get over that rejection. And I remember it well. It was 96, and I finally, over the summer, pulled out that rejection letter, and I realized that the person had written me 2 or 3 pages of why they were rejecting my story. It wasn't just a perfunctory, generic rejection letter. They actually took the time to tell me why my story wasn't working. And I will never forget the very last paragraph, because the last paragraph said, "Clearly, you have a story to tell. You just haven't learned the craft of novel writing. Once you do that, I would be happy to read anything you write." And I remember thinking, cool. I just have to learn how to write novels. Okay, I can do that. I'm in college. I can do that. I can take creative writing classes. I can read books. I can do all that. And so I spent the next 3 years of my undergrad trying to absorb everything I could about how to be a better writer, and how to grow as a writer and be, the best I could be. And over that time, I wrote a few more short stories. And then when I was 24, almost 25, I started writing another novel. And this novel I finished after a couple years of writing, revising, all that good stuff. And I sent that story around, and it got rejected. And it didn't just get rejected once. I sent it to every literary agent I could think of. I sent it to small presses. I sent it to contests, and I got nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Now, I haven't read that book in a while, probably like a decade. But when I got rejected, and I've talked about this before, it broke me. I was just like, okay, I don't think I should be doing this anymore. This is too hard. I haven't gotten anything published, and maybe I just should walk away from this. And that was hard. That was really hard. And I did walk away for a little while. It was one of the few times I really did quit writing. But I came back eventually. And I came back because I realized that I was still excited about writing, but I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. Rejection can be personal when you make it personal. I did not have the experience, and I did not have the, I want to say, emotional capability to understand that this is a business. Publishing is a business. You may be a fantastic writer, but if people don't think that they can make money off of you, if they don't think that you can attract an audience, then they're not going to publish you. I have over the years gotten some lovely rejections from people who said, oh, they love the story was great, my writing was great, but it was too long, or it's too short, or it's just not quite right for our publication, or they're full up and sorry, try next time. I've gotten quite a few of those over the years. And I haven't been lazy about just, sending the same thing for like the last, 20 years. I've been working hard to improve my craft, improve my storytelling abilities, to build an audience, to make sure that I'm sending the very best work that I am capable of writing. And I think that's why my rejection letters have been going the way that they've been going. Because I don't just try and send them the same thing that I wrote when I was 22. And I think that's important also, is that rejection can be good for your ego. If you think you're the hot stuff and you send your book out and it comes back rejected, maybe you're not so hot. Maybe you're lukewarm. And you need to take a critical eye to your book. Make sure that it really is at the level that you really think it should be. I read an article once about somebody who taught at Clarion. And if you don't know what Clarion is, it's a intensive writer workshop for people who work in science fiction and fantasy. And one of the professors or instructors said, yeah, there are some people who graduate our program and they're not writing publishable stuff yet. And I kind of felt like, ooh, that's harsh. You spent 6 weeks in this intensive program and you still aren't really writing things that can get published. But you take that so that you can learn to get to be a better writer. And I guess that's the same with any schooling. You take something. I don't know what my hair is doing right now. Sorry. It's getting poofy. Um, you take classes to learn to be a better writer, and hopefully you get to a level where you can start to get published. And then it's all about finding the right place, finding the editors that like you, find the literary agent that thinks they can, sell for you and that they believe in you. And all of that is complicated. It takes time sometimes. Sometimes you do, poof, it happens. And other times you don't. I saw a meme once that said that rejection was evidence that you were trying. And I always kind of remember that because I think it's the worst thing in the world to not try to see your dreams come true. Some people give up on their dream for whatever reason, but other people still think about it, but they never do anything. A few years ago, I went to a lecture by a very famous literary agent, and it was all about infusing emotional tension within your work and how to elevate the emotions in your work. It was a very good workshop, one of the best I've ever gone. And it was not cheap. It was not cheap at all. But I met this young woman and she seemed very sweet. And she said, I actually have never written anything. I just take these classes hoping to motivate me to write. And I looked at her like, girl, you spent all this money and you ain't writing? Say what? But I didn't say that to her. Instead, I said, you have to find the motivation to write. You can take all these classes and spend all this money, but if you don't actually sit down and write, then there's nothing that's going to make you do it. You have to have that internal drive. And I personally feel, the more she talked to me, I personally felt that she was afraid to get rejected. That was really what it was. She really wanted to do this and she was scared of getting rejected. And I hope that if you're watching this and you've always wanted to write, you've always been thinking about writing, I hope that you get over that fear of being rejected. Everybody goes through it. Everybody's going to have it. It's a part of the business. And that rejection should motivate you to stay the course because you believe in your work. Now, sometimes you can use that rejection to examine why it is that you got rejected, and you can go back to the drawing board, revise, try a new story, that kind of thing. We all, once you start writing longer periods of time, you have stories that you've trunked, you've put in the trunk that you don't really want to revise anymore. You just think, I wrote it, it's not really going anywhere, I'm gonna try something new. But then you have stories that you say, no, this is a good story, I should keep going with it. It deserves to be published. Getting rejected can sometimes be the the catalyst for you to get more motivated to get it published. When I had my little mini break between March 2022 and September 2022, after that I came back and I wrote another short story, and then into 2023, I workshopped that story with my critique group. I started writing another story. And then sometime around the fall, because fall tends to be a big time of year when everybody opens for submissions. And I started submitting again. And then by January 2024, the rejections started coming in. And instead of me going, oh, see, I knew I was going to get rejected, I was like, oh, well, that just means I have to keep trying because I like these stories and I think that they should be published. And so I did a huge push in March of 2024, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, but those stories got published. And I think that rejection can sometimes be a catalyst because it shows you evidence that you are trying. You are trying to move your career forward. Like I said, I think that girl, she was afraid to be rejected. And because of that, that kept her stagnant in this endless loop of taking a class and then wanting to write, but saying, oh no, I need to take one more class. You can talk all you want, but talk is cheap sometimes. Sometimes you have to just get down to it. You have to just start writing. And you can't be afraid to be rejected. It's part of the business, but it also is something that can help motivate you to be a better writer. If you're constantly getting rejected, but the rejections start to improve, they start to be more personal. People start to say, oh yeah, I like this story, but it was just a bit too long. Send us something, 500 words shorter. Send them something else that's 500 words shorter, keep it going. I started at a time when there was no email. Okay. That's how much older I am. Okay. Don't judge. And, you used to have to send it in through the mail with a self-addressed stamped envelope, and then they would send it back to you. And Stephen King has said famously that he had this big spike on his wall, and he would nail uh, the rejection letters to the spike, or put it on the spike, and then eventually the rejection letters got so heavy it fell off the wall. And if you see this piece of paper right up here, that's my submission calendar. Now, I haven't submitted anything because I've been working on my novel. Um, and But hopefully in 2025 we'll start filling it in. So if I keep filming here, you might see it get more and more stuff on the list as we go through. But I don't know. I don't think you can read that though. It's pretty small. But that's the way it used to be. And then email came along, and then we had to submit everything through email, and now they have like submittable, and you still have to do email sometimes, but the rejection has evolved now. And I personally don't mind getting the email rejections. um I don't mind that at all. But it just depends. But rejection should not be something to be feared. It should not be something that you're scared of. Rejection is part of the business, and it shows that you're trying. It shows that you are attempting to build something. If everybody got everything they wanted right as soon as they wanted it, I don't know if everybody would start to improve. If I had gotten that novel published when I was a teenager, I don't know if I'd be the writer I am today. If I hadn't gotten that novel rejected in my 20s, I definitely know I would not be the writer that I am today. Because, and y- See, I have these ideas for other um, videos, and I feel like they're going to overlap. So you may hear this again, but one of the reasons that I went to grad school was because I felt blocked creatively because I got that book published. So I got rejected. I mean, that book did not get published, and I got rejected. So I got rejected from this book that I wrote in my 20s. I took almost a year off, and then I started thinking that maybe I needed to really work on my craft. I really needed to dedicate some time and energy. And the best way I knew how to do that was to go to grad school. And there's my diploma right there. It's not hanging on the wall because uh, I don't know. I'm lazy. I haven't gotten around to that. But it is framed. And so I don't think I'd be the writer that I am today if I just got every story published that I had ever submitted. Rejection will definitely be a catalyst to make you a better writer. It also proves to you that you are trying, that you are doing the work, the hard work. And I also think that there are people that this will teach you whether or not you are really cut out to be a writer. I talked about NaNoWriMo and how it can be a grind to write. And, if you're on the fence about it, sometimes it might be hard to really commit to writing as much as you need to do. Well, rejection, that's another piece of it. That's another piece of it because you will get rejected. I've had stories published. I mean, stories that eventually got published, but they were rejected 10, 15, 20 times. I think I have one that's probably like 25 times. I think that's the most. But years upon years of me trying to get them published. So please, oh please, do not think that rejection is showing you that you're a bad writer. Sometimes rejection is just part of the business, and you have to maintain that professional attitude, and you just submit it out again. One beautiful thing is that every year somebody decides they're going to be a literary agent, and somebody decides they're going to start a literary magazine, and somebody decides they're going to go work at a publishing house. And that person may think you are a amazing writer. So there's always hope. There's always hope. And if anything else, self-publish. If you really believe in it and you think it's awesome, self-publish that stuff. There's some good self-published books coming out. And man, oh man, how the business has evolved. So, and I've self-published myself. So, I believe in it. But do not be afraid of rejection. It's not the end of the world. And, use it as sort of a badge of honor. This book got rejected 50 times before I found a publisher. And you say that, and some other young writer will say, "Oh my God, really? Okay, I should keep trying then." So I hope this motivates you. I hope if you're dealing with the rejections that you keep trying. If you believe in your work, keep trying, keep it out there. And if you don't believe in the work, if it got rejected and you think, "Oh, this probably isn't my best," sit down, write something new, and send it back to them. All right, everyone. I hope this was motivating. It's almost the end of the year. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a happy writing week and that I will see you again on the next video. Bye.